Losing weight becomes easy when you change your mindset. It's not about your diet, your lifting split, your macros, your protein, your added sugar, the amount of cardio you've done. It's not even about staying consistent and being disciplined. Those can all be useful and do work. They're great tactics. But the truth is that if you don't shift your mindset before you do all of those actions, then you'll keep falling back in the same trap. Traps that leave you stuck, frustrated, and make you wonder why nothing is working. You could put in a ton of effort and then not lose any weight. Or maybe you do lose the weight, but then it comes back a few months later. Or the worst thing is when you put in a ton of effort, you feel like you're doing so much, and then you actually gain more weight. This is what happened to me for 2 years straight. I was 265 pounds, technically obese, and I really wanted to lose the weight. And I knew exactly what I needed to do. I knew the diet, I knew how to exercise. I had all the information I needed. And yet I was still gaining weight. You see, the thing is that starting a new diet or getting into a new exercise routine is extremely stressful, not just physically for your body, but also mentally. We've been eating a certain way or just having a certain amount of activity in our lifestyle for so many years, usually since we were kids. And we can't just expect our bodies and brains to just be able to snap into a new lifestyle immediately. But that's what a lot of these YouTube videos and a lot of these courses you'll find online will tell you. They're trying to give you quick solutions and sell it to you because that's what people want to hear, that it can happen overnight. But the problem with all these different tactics going around, these diets, these plans, is that no one's talking about the mindset that you need to have in order to actually do the diet, the exercise plan, and stick to it for the rest of your life, because that's what we really want. We don't want a quick solution that just runs out. We want these results for the rest of our life. And the only way to do that is to shift our mindset. It took me about 4 months to lose 65 pounds. And the very first day of those 4 months was triggered not by me discovering a new diet or me realizing, oh, I just need to exercise in this way. It was actually triggered by a conversation I had with a close friend. We were at his apartment and we were in the middle of a conversation talking about our goals, about what we wanted to achieve in our life, things we want 10 years out, 20 years out, those types of really deep conversations you have with some of your close friends. And in the middle of that conversation, I just let it slip that I would be so much more focused on all of these goals if I wasn't thinking about how fat I was all day. And he stopped me there. He was like, yo, Sunny, what did you just say? You're thinking about this all day? Like a lot throughout the day? And you know, honestly, back then, I was kind of surprised that he stopped me like that. Right now, if I heard someone say that to me, that they think about how fat they are all day, I would literally stop them as well, and I'd be like, yo, like that's a concerning thing. But the crazy thing here is that back then, when I was actually going through those thought patterns, I didn't think that was weird at all. I thought that was the way it should be. But he stopped me and he was like, Sunny, let's talk about this more. This is pretty concerning. And in that moment, in that conversation, for maybe the first time in my entire life up to that point, I was completely vulnerable with someone else about what goes on inside my head. I told him how important it was to me how I looked, how I was going about day to day thinking about what other people were thinking about me, about how fat I was, about how fat they thought I was. It was so cathartic, it was so freeing to finally tell someone this burden I had inside my head that I was holding on to for 2 years, and it brings me such a smile to just think back to that time. It was such an amazing conversation, and it was pivotal to me actually starting to lose the weight, because as that conversation was going, my friend said, let's get to the bottom of this. I actually want you to cut out every single one of these goals. Remember earlier I told you we were talking about our ambitions, our ideas for the future. He said, don't worry about the business. Don't worry about getting a girlfriend. Don't worry about those other goals I had at that time. Just focus on losing weight. And so I heard that, and I knew for myself that if I did lose the weight, if I was confident in the way I looked, it would be a lot easier for me to pursue the business, to have the confidence and the self-love to get into a relationship, to pursue these other goals. And so I said, yeah, that's a great idea. This is the first part of the mindset that will help you lose weight and keep it off. Don't try to lose weight, especially if it's your first time doing it, if you're starting a new career or business, if you're getting into a relationship for the first time, you just moved somewhere new. Make sure that you have the time and the space in order to allow this new transition and challenge you're bringing into your life. Because you're gonna need your full focus and your full recovery ability to be able to actually find out what this diet, lifestyle, this new routine is gonna be like. So I took the lesson I learned from that conversation with me and I tried to lose weight, but I didn't do it the way that most people do. Most people think, okay, I'm trying to lose weight, so I'm just gonna eat a very small amount of calories. I'm gonna eat tiny meals. I'm only gonna eat salads, or maybe I'm gonna cut out all carbs out of my diet. I'm just gonna do none of that. Or the worst thing is when people are like, okay, I need to lose fat, so I'm gonna stop eating fat. I'm not gonna eat any fat in my diet. Well, when I thought about losing weight, I thought about my past and myself. And I actually came from a very heavy eating background. You know, I wasn't overweight my entire life. It wasn't some genetic thing or just something I adopted from my parents. I actually gained 85 pounds prior to me losing the weight. So I was actually about 180 pounds 3 years before I lost the weight. So I was 180 pounds, I went up to 265, and then I was able to lose 65 pounds after. But what that means is I was eating a ton of food. I was eating pizzas every week, I was eating desserts, I was drinking soda, I was going in on all of these meals. It was insane the amount of calories I was eating. And so when I approached this new, attempt at losing weight, that specific time after that conversation, I thought, okay, I love eating this amount of food, so instead of doing all those things like eating a small amount of food or cutting out all these foods, I'm just gonna push my first meal till later in the day so I can actually eat more food for every meal. It was really interesting because for me, even though I love to overeat and I love to eat a ton of calories in my meals, it wasn't like I needed to do that all day. I just looked forward to the one experience I had when I was doing that every single day. It was actually easier for me to just fast throughout the day because I knew that later in the day that I was gonna eat this amazing meal. Versus if I were to eat smaller meals throughout the day, I would actually be more dissatisfied doing that, even if the calories were about the same. And I didn't just come to that realization immediately after that conversation. I was actually trying to lose weight for years before. But that was the first time that I thought, this is my only focus. I'm only trying to lose weight. And so having that space and time allowed me to become more strategic and finally realize that, oh, this is the type of style of eating I like, so let me just do intermittent fasting, which is where you have a small eating window. Instead of eating all day, 16 hours that you're awake, I'm just gonna eat for 4 of those hours, or maybe even 3 of those hours. So at first I pushed my first meal until the afternoon. I wouldn't eat any breakfast, and then a few weeks later I pushed my first meal until 4 p.m., 5 p.m. And I actually ate like a massive meal of my mom's cooking, and then I had some dessert after. But Sunny, you're eating dessert, you're eating sugar, that's gonna make you gain weight. How did you do that and still lost weight? Well, the thing with intermittent fasting is that if you were to eat a massive meal after you break your fast, let's say at 4 p.m., 5 p.m., you eat a massive meal, but it's not like you're eating 3,000 calories. It's more like you eat 1,200, 1,400 calories. And maybe if you're a smaller person, I'm 6'6", so these are more scaled up, so maybe it's like 1,000 calories for you. If you eat that massive meal, that feels like a massive meal, you're not quick to just go and eat a ton of food right after. You actually feel very satisfied with the amount of food you just ate. And so the cool thing with intermittent fasting is that you get to eat an insane amount of calories. You get to have the good amount of volume. You feel satisfied by the amount of food you're eating. And then you don't even eat that much more till later in the day. So maybe I'd have a dessert in the first month or two of me doing this new diet, but I'd still be in a calorie deficit after eating that massive meal plus a dessert. it was a system that worked so great for me. And on the other hand, let's say you eat your healthy breakfast, your healthy lunch, and then a healthy dinner. After you eat all of those different foods, you're probably going to feel a bit dissatisfied with the way you ate, and you'll probably be more likely to eat a tub of ice cream or a ton of chocolate. And so intermittent fasting worked great for me, so maybe it's the first thing that you try in your own life. But the important lesson here is that you need to experiment. You need to find the style of eating that works great for your body. We're all very different from each other. We all have different genetics. We came from different countries around the world. We evolve differently. So you have to find which diet and lifestyle works great for you. And the number one tip I have is, can you imagine doing this for years and decades, not just for a couple months like most diets are? So the weeks went by and the months went by, and I'm not going to just say like this was such an easy process. You just do this and you lose weight. The thing is, a lot of my friends and families have tried to copy me and do exactly, the same type of intermittent fasting and lose the weight. But the issues that they usually run into is that one day they get that craving in the morning. They're like, damn, like I would love to have like a pastry, like a donut from Dunkin' Donuts with my coffee. They usually have that craving, but they're thinking like, oh, I'm intermittent fasting. I'm on this healthy meal, this healthy diet. If I break this right now, it's like it's going to ruin everything. And so maybe they don't do it the first day, they don't do it the second day, but then the fifth time that they have that craving, they just give in, because willpower is a meter, and if you keep using it and you get to zero, you're gonna break it. No one's above that. And so when you break it and you eat that donut, what I'd see a lot of my friends and family do is that they'd break the diet, the intermittent fasting, and then they'd be like, oh shit, I'm done intermittent fasting. So you know what? For the next couple days, I'm just gonna eat a ton of donuts. I'm gonna eat whatever I want because I'm done intermittent fasting. I broke it. The problem comes when people put so much weight, no pun intended, they put so much importance on this rule set, on this diet and lifestyle that they chose for themselves, that if they break any part of it, then everything falls through. The truth is that during that time period that I lost 65 pounds, there were plenty of times that I woke up and I felt a huge craving for sugar. I was just like, oh, I don't really want to fast today. So I actually gave in to the craving. And I know you're not going to hear this online. You're not going to hear this from people who are like, no, you got to be disciplined, have the grit, keep going. But I don't think you should actually have discipline in that situation. If you're training for a bodybuilding prep, you're like super advanced, whatever, you like need to have the discipline there. But if you're just trying to lose weight, and you're just trying to lose like a good amount of weight so you look pretty good in a shirt, whatever, you can give in here and there. But the way I want you to give up your cravings is one, that whenever you do the thing, so what I would do is I would drink a Dunkin' Donuts iced coffee with a ton of caramel and whole milk in it. I love that thing. And it was 500 calories. So I would give in, and instead of fasting until 4 or 5 p.m., I would drink the Dunkin' Donuts coffee. But what I would do is I would go play a sport after. I would go to the gym after, lift weights, do some cardio. I would make sure that I coupled it with some sort of healthy activity, and then I would feel no guilt about it, because low-key the sugar and the caffeine kind of powered my workout even more. And so I didn't feel any guilt about it. I didn't feel like I was really breaking my lifestyle. And so the next day I was easily able to bounce back. So don't get too rigid with these rules. This is a huge lesson that I see so many people fail in their diets and start to gain back the weight and self-sabotage. This is the actual way to stay consistent. It's not like you're just this pure, disciplined, godlike level, but you make some sacrifices here and there. You make some exceptions. That's how you make things consistent for years. If you do all of these, I promise you will shift to the mindset that will help you lose weight and keep it off. Peace.